Welcome to Ed Fluential Sports, where passion meets precision. Yes, I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. This is episode 22 of Sports Fanatic Forum, and let's get into it as we start every Thursday with the AEW Dynamite recap. Drop a few shorts earlier. So let's start with the Will Ospreay promo. I liked it. Called out Pac for calling him a liar about he lied about a handshake that they had, which I didn't realize Pac lied about. But also, I don't ever remember them shaking hands. No, I don't. Yeah, the handshake really isn't significant. But Will calling him a liar makes it feel more significant because you lied about a handshake, and there's no footage of that handshake. So maybe they can find it somewhere. But that was really weird. And then he wanted Moxley at Dynasty, and one Osprey had a cold line. He was like, "You gonna put me in timeout?" That's something I say to my 7-year-old. I was like, "Okay." So yeah, Will, he was cooking this promo. I enjoyed it. And then he challenged Moxley to a match at Dynasty. Didn't challenge for the title, surprisingly. So I think that will be brought up at some point because it can't just be a one-on-one match. Like it has to be for the title. Like the Continental title just has to be on the line there. But no non-title match for now. As Moxley did accept after his win, which I'll talk about that match in a second. But Moxley did accept the challenge. Now, obviously, Moxley isn't going to just put the title on the line, but that has to come into play at some point. Like you can't. Moxley's having a good run as Continental Champion, but I can't see that being a non-title match. Excuse me. Now, for the match that John Moxley did have, it was him, Daniel Garcia, and Marina Shafir teaming up to take on Top Flight in a trios match. Not really a story behind this match. Well, no, I think they had been in the ring before, but it was a good match though. It was solid. Um, I'm trying to see. Yeah, it was. Oh, the match started with the Death Riders like just relentless attack to start the match. As soon as the bell ring, they on time and Moxley choking out Dante, I think, and then Marina Shafir she controlling Zeta Steel in the ring, and Zeta Steel looked really good. Shout out to Zeta Steel. She was in the Evolve. Yeah, she was in Evolve on WWE, but she took her chances going to AEW, getting out on her own, and it's been working out for her. The sun just went down. I'm probably going to turn my light on. One second. All right, that looks a lot better. Okay. I could have opened my blinds, but the sun has been weird today. But Zeta Steel, she gambled on herself. She went to AEW. They paired her for top flight. She's been a good face. Like I said, been in multiple trios matches. Actually, been on TV. She's been in Ring of Honor as well, but she's been on Ring of Honor and AEW actively in both. So she didn't have to grind her way up from Evolve to NXT and then maybe getting stuck in Evolve for who knows how long. So Zeta Steel gambled on herself, and she looks good. She had a good showing in this match. Now the Death Riders did win, as they did the sharpshooter stomp combination that they usually do to win their matches. Really dope spot, really good way for them to win the match. And like I said, Moxley accepted the challenge after that match was done. You have Mike Bailey taking on Rocky Romero. I was like, okay. As long as anybody with the name Romero getting beat up on, I enjoy it. So that was cool. Mike Bailey, Rocky Romero. It was just an easy win for Mike Bailey. They still building the story with the Don Callis family and Jet Speed and Mystico, even though I feel like it should be over at this point. But can't live in the past. The match still happened. Good win for Mike Bailey. He did his thing. I love his 450 double knee splash. So that's one of my favorite moves. That move is really cold. So Mike Bailey won with that, as he usually does, and it is what it is. A good match. Romero get beat up on. Cool. The Young Bucks, they cut a promo that was like they just plan on doing what it takes to get back to the top because they have their eyes set on the AEW World Tag Team titles, and obviously they can't get a shot at Dynasty as they just lost. But whoever wins that match, they want the winner of that match. I'm sure the Young Bucks will have some random tag matches to build some momentum leading up to when they do get that shot at the titles. Christian and Cope, they cut a promo later, giving a history lesson behind FTR. And Christian was like, y'all took out his wife, Beth, with the power driver, whatever. And he was like, even worse, y'all took me out with a power driver. And then Cope was highly confused because how is that worse? And that's when Cope gave a history lesson, how their kids go to school together, this and that. So cool promo. Then FDR had their promo. They all had these promos at different points in the show. which I was cool with. The FDR, they was like, we didn't want to live in Cope's shadow anymore. We're our own tag team. We're the greatest of this generation. Um, so it was a good promo by FTR. All three teams, obviously FTR versus Christian and Cope is the next match, but this is all leading to a triple threat tag team ladder match, most likely, or a TLC match. We'll see. And then you had the War Dogs taking on Orange Cassidy and Roger Strong. Another feud that I think should be over. Like some of these feuds are being stretched and dragged unnecessarily long, but this feud between them hasn't been long. But the root of this is Darby Allin and Gabe Kidd, which is pretty much over. So I don't know why the War Dogs is still beefing with Orange Cassidy and Roger Strong. And then I put Roger Cassidy in my notes. That should say Roger Strong. I don't know why I'm changing it. I'm just delete it later. But the War Dogs got the win. That's they should have. Clark Connors, David Finlay, they did their thing. David Finlay's been fine in AEW. I know some people got a problem with him being in the tag team. But if he went to WWE, he would have been in the same situation. He still would have been with a group. But him being with this group is more significant because they had history teaming together in New Japan as the Bullet Club War Dogs. So I'm fine with it. The Divine Dominion, they cut a promo. Basically, I didn't really hear most of it. All I know is that they accepted the Baszler Route Challenge for Collision. This feud, I don't mind how long it's been because this was set back due to an injury. So that's why the Divine Dominion had to wait a little minute to get the titles because of Penelope Ford's injury. So this feud, I think it's going to be the last match between them and the Baszler Route and the Divine Dominion. They'll get the win, but it's going to be another good tag team match. I don't know how they can make it much different because we've seen it before. But this match, with them having this match again, makes sense because of it being set, because of the storyline being pushed back a bit due to Penelope Ford's injury, multiple injuries. So we'll see what happens with that. What's good, Terrell? And then after that, you had Kyle Fletcher. He got a promo basically saying how much he hates Don Callis. I was like, okay, that's cool. I mean, not hate Don Callis, but he hates Don Callis' partnership with MJF. So that makes a lot of sense because why are you working with MJF? You're the world champion. So Kyle Fletcher basically just saying that he wants the world title. He's going to take it from MJF, which I don't see happening. I do like Kyle Fletcher, but I don't like the idea for double champion. Now, once he drops the TNT title to whoever, I'll be like, that'll be a cool match to see for that world championship if we get to that point. But I do think Kyle Fletcher will be a world champion very soon. If not this year, then next year for sure. In AEW, he'll be the AEW world champion. Ricochet, him and the Demand had a promo. Ricochet won his title back, the national title, which if I'm the Demand, I just got to the trios titles. I think that would be smart for them to go to the trios titles because Jet Speed and Mystical got them. Like, that'd be a good trios match. I say got to those because even though he didn't get pinned or submitted, you still got eliminated in the match by going over the top rope. So Jack Perry did win the match, and Ricochet is pissed off that he lost. So it is what it is. But that battle royal was entertaining. Glad that Jack Perry won. But Ricochet and the Demand, I think it's time for them to go out to the trios titles. Or unless, but if Ricochet wants singles gold steel, then the Demand, the Gates of Agony, they should be going after the tag titles, whether that be Ring of Honor or AEW. Either one can work since they own Ring of Honor. So, and I don't know who are the Ring of Honor tag champs, so that could be cool. Or they could go after the 6-man tag titles in Ring of Honor too, because they still going to be featured prominently on AEW TV. Then you had the main event with Darby Allin and Rouge going one-on-one. This was a good match. I enjoyed it. I didn't think this should have been the main event. I thought the Tekla match should have main evented. But Darby Allin, he's been doing his thing since he came back again. But Darby, he's getting that push, which I think this is the push that he was always going to get. It was just set back multiple times, really just twice by injury, which is unfortunate. But now that he's back, he's doing his thing. Didn't have any crazy spots in this match. Like, he's been having a hella crazy spots in his career, but this was actually kind of tame. Then he took a power driver on the ramp after the match. But he got the win. Then the Don Callis family attacked him post-match because of the partnership they got with MJF. But, it is what it is. Good main event. Glad that Darby got the win. But the post-match attack, I don't think it really delivered. Then Andrade being confused and upset. It's like, Andrade and Darby, that's going to be a good match. But Andrade, he could have attacked him too. He could have did a bit of something. I don't know. He was just standing at the ramp looking confused, which I get. It's like Andrade, Cal Fletcher, they don't like the partnership with MJF, so it makes sense. But then it's like, damn, all the Don Callis family jumped in Darby. He don't got no help from nobody, even though he always helping all the other faces. So it's like, man, Darby just getting beat up on and ain't nobody helping him. So, but I give Dynamite a 7 out of 10. It was a good episode, a step up from last week. I gave last week a 6 out of 10, so this was definitely a better show. And anything I didn't cover on this podcast, I made shorts about it. So you can see those on Instagram, TikTok, or on my YouTube short as I talked about the matches and segments that I didn't cover on here because that'll take too much time. But yeah, Darby Allin, once again, shout out to you, I guess. And now we can move into the rankings portion of today's podcast. I did a MLB Power Rankings a few weeks ago. I think it's been a while, but it was super early. It was like 2 weeks into the season. And now, everybody was around a few, plus. Now this is my second or third time doing Power Rankings for the MLB. I think the first time, I forget what's the 1 week I did the MVP race. I talked about that. And it was Rookie of the Year. Now this is the fourth time because I done did the Power Rankings once, talked about the MVP and talked about Rookie of the Year for the MLB. This is my second time doing Power Rankings. I did this a few weeks ago too. Now that more games have been played, I can update this, and some things have changed a little bit. One thing stayed the same for this though, but for the MLB, for Major League Volleyball, this is my ranking of the teams from worst to best, the 8 teams in the MLB. I'm going to get it out the way early. I'll get it out the way first. I'm going to start going from 8 to 1. The Columbus Fury, I still have them at 8. They've still been the worst team. They're 4-14 on the season. They are my favorite team. We got a few All-Stars, which it is what it is. Don't really care. The All-Star game will be exciting, hopefully. But we're still last. We have a 22 win percentage. We did win a game recently in like 3 sets, which I was happy about. But we're still clearly the worst team in the MLB at a 4-14 record, 22 win percentage. So it just makes sense that I had to put us last. Like I could putting us in a higher, putting the Columbus Fury any higher wouldn't have been objective at all because we clearly haven't done anything to be that much higher. But it was it was the Orlando Valkyries, the reigning champions, who he took down, beating them 3-0. Beating them 3 sets to 0, which was a very impressive win. So but still not getting nearly enough production. So the next game, the Columbus Fury's next game is what? So the All-Star break is coming up. Next game is against the Grand Rapids Rise on April 5th. No, it's not. It's against the San Diego Mojo on April 3rd. Okay. Because it's 1 game tonight, then it's All-Star on Saturday. So, All-Star game on CBS too. So that's going to be entertaining. But it's the Dallas Sports and Atlanta vibe tonight. But yeah, the Columbus Fury, they've still been really bad. Have to keep them at 8. Number 7, I went with the Grand Rapids Rise, who are 7-12. I think are the second worst team in the MLB. Yeah, they still are. So pretty appropriate placing for them. Excuse me. They just lost Wednesday they won Wednesday, actually. Yeah, against the Indy Ignite. That was a surprise. They upset the Indy Ignite at home. Even though they were at home, it was still like the Indy Ignite had been having a great season. The Rise won that in 4 sets. I think I might have had the Grand Rapids Rise last time in the Fury at 7 because they were a bit closer when it comes to wins and losses. But now the Rise are significantly past them, so putting the Rise at 7 makes sense. They couldn't go above any of the other teams because they still aren't up to par with them. But a good upset victory over the Indy Ignite, which should give them some more momentum, especially going into the All-Star break. But they did lose to the Omaha Supernovas. They lost to them in a sweep. They lost in 3 sets. But the Grand Rapids Rise, they also lost to Dallas. So it hasn't been a good season for them. Still one of the worst teams in the MLB, but they're moving up. Well, they moved up one spot, so not crazy, but it's still a step up. Um, Number six, you got the Orlando Valkyries. They're the reigning champions. They are 9-11. It's one team above them that has a worse record, but I'll explain that in a second. The Orlando Valkyries are underperforming. They're supposed to be one of the top two, top three teams in the league record wise. They haven't lived up to that at all. 2 games under 500. Brittany Abercrombie, their reigning MVP, she's been out with injuries. She was out with an injury for a few games this season. So that also hurt them and contributed to some of their losses they had this season. And so that injury plays a factor. And then they have underperformed in general, being 9-11, not being one of the top teams as they were expected to be. So that's why I had them so low. And they just got swept by the Columbus Fury, the worst team in the MLB, not just record wise, but they just really are that bad. And so the Orlando Valkyries losing that was a pretty embarrassing game for them, and they got swept by the Vibe. So I think they've been swept back-to-back games. Yeah, because the game before that they swept the Mojo, but they've been swept back-to-back games in their last two matchups, and they're just underperformed. Like I said, the Brittany Abercrombie injury that sucked for them throughout this season. And number five, I do have the San Diego Mojo. Despite the Valkyries beating them head-to-head not too long ago, the San Diego Mojo they're currently 8-10, so also 2 games under. So records are pretty similar. But their last game, it's not their last game. The San Diego Mojo, they beat the Omaha Supernovas in a 4-set game. That was really convincing, in my opinion. They look great there. And they'll continue to look better in the last few weeks aside from that. Like they did play the Pulse and lose that one, so it has been some ups and downs throughout the season. But despite these ups and downs, they've kept some of these games competitive, even if they are losing early on. So at 5, I got the San Diego Mojo. At number, 8, Columbus Fury, 7, Grand Rapids Rise, 6, Orlando Valkyries, 5, San Diego Mojo. Now I'm getting into the top 4, the upper half. We got the Omaha Supernovas at number 4. They're currently 10-10 on the season, right at 500. I think they also could have been a bit better, but it's not nothing crazy. They did sweep the Grand Rapids Rise, so they took care of business when they needed to against a team that's worse than them, so taking care of, because they're all in this hunt for the playoffs, so taking care of that game on March 20th, that was a great win for Omaha recently. And then they got swept by the Mojo 3-1 in that head-to-head matchup. So I do still put them ahead of the Mojo since they are at 500. But that's the reason why they have moved down, because I did have them at 3 the last time I did this. But all these matchups are so important. You can't be losing in 4 sets. You can't be losing that game in general. And then at number 2, I got number 3, I got the Atlanta Vibe, who are 8-9. They just recently swept the Dallas Pulse, if I'm not mistaken. They swept the Orlando Valkyries. Then it was another game that they played. They swept the Orlando Valkyries, and it was they swept the Dallas Post as well. And so they swept the reigning champions, and they swept the team that's currently has the second best record in the MLB. So the Atlanta Vibe with Leah Edmond leading the way. I had to put them at 3, despite them being 1 game under. I think they've done enough to be at 3 at this point in the season. Now, the Indy Ignite, I do have at 2, even though they're 15-4, have the best record in the league. They just lost in 5 sets to Omaha, who have been struggling. So it's a good win for Omaha, but Indy losing that game is definitely a surprise. And Indy, they haven't moved super far down. They did sweep the Orlando Valkyries, so they do have some big wins. They're still 15-4, have the best record in the MLB. But I did go with the Dallas Post, who are 14-5, and it's really 1 game separating them. They've just played. Yeah, they're 1 game worse than the Indy Ignite, but the Dallas Post have 2 MVP candidates, and Sophie Diaz, Maldonado, and Mimi Collier. Well, I don't think Indy has that. They played phenomenal. I do think having 2 MVP candidates puts you ahead, so I do have the Dallas Post at 1. And so to recap those teams in the MLB from worst to best, in my opinion, I got the Columbus Fury at 8, the Grand Rapids Rise at 7, the Orlando Valkyries at 6, the San Diego Mojo at 5, the Omaha Supernovas at 4, the Atlanta Vibe at 3, the Indy Ignite at 2, and the Dallas Pulse at 1. Now we can move to Ice Cold. As far as Ice Cold, the Righteous, I think this year the Righteous have been the worst tag team act in wrestling, and I'm gonna list off my reasons, but they just simply haven't been doing anything. Like I remember seeing them in AEW. It was like a pre-show. I think they took on. It was a pre-show for a pay-per-view. I forget who they took on. It was Cal Fletcher and Mark Davis. I think. I forgot what they. Yeah, they had a match that was Ozzy Open, I think. But that was. I remember seeing them at AEW, and then once they debuted in TNA, I was like, I didn't remember who they were once they came to TNA, but I was like, then I had to remember. Then I seen something like an old pre-show, and then I was, oh yeah, I remember watching them wrestle one time. But they've just been really bad this year, and it's no hate towards them. I just don't understand the gimmick and what's like their gimmick. It just seems to be mind control, I guess, but it doesn't lead to them getting wins. Like this story with the Hardy Boys has been really weird. Like they want to do the Hardy compound. Yeah, they had the segments they had just didn't hit for me. The feud just wasn't entertaining. And it's like they want to start a faction with the Hardy Boys, but I don't see how that benefits them. Like TNA only has one set of tag team championships. Like yeah, and then they've been losing on the independent circuit too. So it's like they're not getting wins no matter where they go. So it's like they're trying to start a faction with the Hardys, even though they were just feuding with them to try to get the titles, but they didn't want the title, so they was just messing with the Hardys just because they kidnapped Matt, I think. Yeah, they had kidnapped Matt Hardy, and I was like, this is really weird, and it's just not hitting for me. Like they're solid in the ring. I can't give them that. I can't say that they're just terrible everywhere, but they're solid in the ring, and they do have good tag team chemistry. So it's not just some makeshift tag team for what I know. So the chemistry is there. They are solid together. So they're not terrible, but it's just I can't take them serious because the stuff with the Hardy Boys just didn't hit to me. Like the promos felt all over the place. Like they never really explained their purpose. There was like they kept messing with the Hardys and was like, we don't want the tag titles. And then the Hardys started to figure it out after they beat them. No, it was actually in the match they had with the Hardys when they went 2-on-2 for the tag titles. One of the guys essentially gave up, didn't even try to help his partner, and they just lost the match. And the commentary was confused, and it felt like so natural that it was like the commentary didn't know what the hell was going on. So I'm sure they were told how to react or whatever, but it was like, man, how do you react? Because I don't know how to react to it either. It's just really weird. And it's like they didn't want the titles. The Hardys was like, so y'all want to start a faction. But what does that benefit the Hardys by starting a faction? And then Vincent, they're a tag team. So are they going to split and one of them go after the world title, one go after one of the mid-card titles? Are they both go after mid-card titles? Like they're a tag team and want to start a faction with another tag team. That doesn't make sense at all. If you have a faction, it's supposed to be one tag team within the faction, unless it's men and women in the faction. Because if it's men and women, then you can have two tag teams, one for the men, one for the women. But I really, truly never understood the purpose. And they still having segments together. Now they're defending the Hardy's honor, going 2-on-2 with the Nimmo brothers. And it's like, okay, that's a cool match. Like, it'll be fine. But what do you get out of defending the Hardys? They already beat you for the titles. Like, you don't have a reason to get another shot at the tag titles, even if you beat the Nimmo brothers. Because they earned their shot by winning the Fatal 4-Way, the Fatal 4-Way tag team match. Then, yeah. And like I said, they're not winning on the independent circuit either. They have a match record of 3-7 this year in their tag matches. So that includes Fatal 4-Way tag matches, regular tag matches. So any match you can think of where they're teaming together, they're 3-7 this year, which is just a 30% win percentage. So they got a few wins, but that's still really low. Like they're not winning matches. They not even winning on the independents. They lost the Fatal 4-Way tag match and an 8-man tag match on the independent circuit. So y'all going to the indies and y'all can't even pick up no wins either. it's like, yeah, you got some wins. You got 3 wins, but if you compare it, if you stacked up all the other tag teams, let's just say you stack up FTR, Young Bucks, Hardys, Usos. I'm trying to see who else another tag team. That's four I listed off, I think. No, that was 3. FTR, Young Bucks, Usos. I'm trying to think of another one. The Cullen. Let's go with them. You stack them up with the Righteous, they probably right at 4 or 5. They might be right there with the Cullen as far as wins and losses goes. Because the Usos, even though they barely wrestling, they still got like a 60 something win percentage. They like 2-1. The Cullen, they got a few wins this year. It ain't been nothing crazy. They did just lose to Los Americanos, but they got a few wins. So, whether do they? Well, they might not. So the Righteous might be winning a few more matches than the Cullen is. Because Izzy Dane been losing too. So they might have a few more wins than them. But at least the Cullens have a gimmick and a character that I can get behind. Like the woman is leading the group. So that's cool. But the Righteous, it's like, what? Their character slash gimmick, it don't really resonate with me. Like, what is, like, is it supposed to be like mind control? Like, somebody got to let me know. Is it mind control? It's just a long game for them to be trying to control the mind of the Hardy Boys to eventually get another shot at the tag titles. I just don't see it. And it's also unclear if they're heel or face. Like, they were just feuding with the Hardy Boys. They kidnapped Matt. But you're telling me they're not supposed to be heels because they're trying to defend their honor? Because they never wanted to fight them for the titles. It was never about the titles. Even though y'all were both tag teams and had a tag match that was for the titles. But you're trying to convince me that the titles didn't matter here. You didn't care about the titles at all. They don't make sense to me. So I don't really know if they're a heel or face. Now they're going after the Nimbus, and that seems like it's going to be, I think they have a match tonight. So I know they want to defend the Hardy's honor, apparently, which is also really weird. I don't know how that works, but it's like seeing it. It's like, yeah, you can watch it and it's cool. Well, I'm not enjoying it. Some people might be enjoying it. The promos are kind of wacky to me. I can't really get into it. Like I said, in the ring, they're solid. I can't discredit them. They have good tag team chemistry. But aside from that, it's so much more than just being solid in the ring. Because I can name you a lot of people who are solid in the ring, but what more are they doing? Like Akira Tozawa, he's solid in the ring, but his character, I just don't like it right now. It's just a goofy comedy gimmick with him and Otis. But like when they actually let them go, like they can do their thing. Like the match they had with the Usos, the match Tozawa had versus Gunther. Otis had a good match versus Gunther too. Like I can get behind stuff like that, but it's like the comedic stuff, especially in WWE. It's like sometimes it makes sense. Like the R-Truth thing was funny at first, then it just got old. At a point, it got repetitive. So it's like right now, I don't think WWE needs that. I feel like you need to focus on other things instead of the comedy. Like yeah, sometimes comedy can work. Like Chelsea Green, like I can get behind it. At times for her getting pushed in the wheelchair, like that's funny. But the Danhausen and stuff can't get behind it. Like Speed meeting Dragon Lee, like that was cool. What are you, a dragon? Like that was a funny segment. I enjoyed that. But it's like the Righteous, like even TNA, they do different stuff and it's cool. Like Mara Sade and Ryan Nemeth having the sports competition a few weeks ago. That was cool. That was entertaining to me. But it's like the Righteous with them kidnapping Matt randomly in a steel cage match and Team TNA still winning. That don't make sense. If they down a man, they're down 4-5. How are they gonna win a match when one of their partners just got kidnapped? I won't forget that. That still didn't make sense. It's like they not working with NXT or nothing. So if they was working with NXT, they could have made a story out of that. Even though they're employed by TNA, if they had them playing undercover and working with NXT, that would have made more sense. But they just kidnapped Matt for no reason in that match, and just for Team TNA to still beat Team NXT. That didn't make sense at all. It's like some stuff just won't make sense, which is unfortunate, but some things need to make sense, and this doesn't make sense. Like this, when you're having when you're trying to make a significant tag feud, everything you're doing needs to make sense, or at least with Cardi, if you can do something wacky, you can do it, but make it entertaining. Like I'm not entertained by Matt getting kidnapped, and then the Righteous saying that it's not about the titles. So you kidnapped him for no reason. What else would it be about if you're kidnapping him and nearly helping NXT beat TNA. What else could that be about? So let me know what y'all think. But for Ice Cold, I just think the Righteous have been the worst tag team, not one of, been the worst tag team act this year. Let me know what y'all think. All right, moving on to the prediction gauntlet. We got the Sweet 16, the men's Sweet 16 for March Madness starting today. The one for the women start tomorrow. I'm not doing predictions I'm doing my predictions for the men here. I'll post my prediction for the women tomorrow morning for each game. So I'll just briefly preview each game. You got Purdue taking on, I didn't write down the seeds either, but I don't remember some of these. You got Purdue taking on Texas. I think Purdue wins it. I just think Purdue, they're super deep and they have much better playmakers. And Texas has made it far. That's the 11th seed, if I'm not mistaken, the lowest remaining seed. But I think Purdue gets the job done. I think Texas run ends here. It might be a close game, but I just think the depth of the Purdue playmakers, it's just going to be too much for Texas to handle, especially in late game scenarios when you need to find good looks. I just think Purdue had that over them. Iowa versus Nebraska. I think Nebraska's the higher seeded team. Yeah, Iowa's the 9. I think so. Out of these two lower seeded teams, with Iowa and Texas, I think one of them advances. I'd be surprised if both lose, but I'm going with Iowa. I think this is going to be a game that, excuse me, I do believe defense wins championships, but I think this will be a game where it comes down to the offense. Iowa's offense is super explosive. I think that'll continue after the game, and that's going to be the key factor to them winning this game because they won't out-rebound Nebraska. Nebraska is definitely winning that rebound battle, which could create extra possessions for them, but especially on the offensive end. So it's going to be a battle of the two offenses, but I am taking Iowa. I'm going to take my chances with them. I think they win this game and upset Nebraska, and they're the only remaining Cinderella because there's only 2 potential Cinderellas left. It's 11 Texas and 9 Iowa. So we'll see what happens, but I think Iowa gets the job done. Let me know what y'all think. I'm going to actually pull it up to make sure I got the seeding correct because I don't want to be wrong about that. Yeah, Iowa is 9, Nebraska is 4. Okay. I just had to make sure. And yeah, Purdue is 2, Texas is 11. Yeah, I still think Purdue wins. And then you got, then I'm predicting the games for today and tomorrow. Arkansas takes on Arizona. This is going to be a fun game. This might be the best. And it's going on at 9:45. Damn it. Okay. You got the 1 seed Arizona taking on the 4 seed Arkansas. And this is going to be amazing. Arizona's been the best team in the country all year for a reason. And they haven't really struggled. In Arkansas, they did. The first round was pretty easy. Second round, they did get a battle from High Point. So I got to give credit to High Point once again. They kept that game competitive and looked great. So, High Point, I hope y'all can make the tournament next year because if they can keep some of the pieces this year and get back to the tournament, they might actually be able to do something. But as far as this Arkansas-Arizona game goes, I think Arkansas gets the win here. I think they pull off the upset. It won't be crazy out of 4 seed Arizona 1, but Arkansas is still a lower ranked team. So I'm going to take my chances with Arkansas. I don't think Arizona has anybody that can stop Acuff, and I think Arkansas's defense will be good enough to win this game. Coach K is amazing. I do think Arkansas, a lot of their success is being contributed to Coach K, even though Arkansas has been successful the last 10 years. The 2 years before, he's been there for 2 years. That was 8 years before Coach K. They were still a good team. So, but I think Acuff, he's just so good and so talented that I don't think anybody can stop him. So I do think he can drop 25 points and 6 or 7 assists again in this game and lead Arkansas to a win. Then you got the last game of the night, which is going to be Houston and Illinois playing. Even though they're just separated by a few games, I do think Houston dominates this game and blows them out. Every game will not be close. One of these games has to be a blowout. It'll be it's 8 games. I just can't see all 8 being close. As much as we want that, even with a 2 and 3 taking each other on, somebody's getting blown out, and it just depends on who it's going to be. But I'm going to predict that Houston blows out Illinois in this game and they advance. Like I said, I would hope for every game to be close, but that's just not realistic. Even in the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, like maybe the Final Four and championship game is way more likely. Even the Elite Eight, it's more likely for every game to be close. But that's not. But in the Sweet 16, I just think that's an unrealistic expectation. Now, if all the games are close, that'd be great. So I do hope that's the case. But like I said, it's just a bit unrealistic for every game to be close. So I'm going with a Houston blowout. I think they got the advantage here. I think they're just a simply better team. And I think they'll prove that and show us tonight why they're so much better. And then for the games you got tomorrow for the other Sweet 16 games, you got St. John's taking on Duke. And I think this is gonna be a fun game too. But as much as I like St. John's, I do love watching them play. It has been nice seeing them get to the Sweet 16. I got to go with Duke. I think the Boozer brothers will be too much to handle. They just got a couple of their starters back who were down with injuries in that first game versus Siena. So now that they're fully healthy, at this point, I just don't see a way that they lose. I do think it can be close, but it might not be the closest game, but it won't be a blowout. I think it'll be decided by between 8 to 10 points if Duke gets the win, with both of the Boozer brothers going crazy. Because even when Duke has been healthy, especially late in the season, Caden Boozer was nice coming off the bench. And then Cam Boozer, he's going to do his thing, one of the highly touted upcoming draft picks. So I think both of them will be too much to handle for St. John's, and they'll lose. It won't be as close as some of the other games I think can be close, but it won't be a blowout either. I think it'll be like an 8 to 10 point game. You got Alabama taking on Michigan. I think this will be the closest game between them. Alabama, Michigan, that's going to be close. I got this game going to overtime. I think one of these games is bound to go to overtime. And if it is one, it's going to be Alabama and Michigan. And I think that I got Alabama pulling the upset. I think Alabama has a chance to do it. I think Phil Long can hit the game winner in overtime or just a game winner in general. But I do see this game coming down to the wire, being the most competitive game, having a game winner in that, or a game missing shot, a game tire, like something big is going to happen in this game, I feel like. But I'm going to go Alabama. I think they win on a game winner from Phil Long. So that's how I see that game playing out. Even though Michigan has just as good a chance of winning, that's why I said it'll come down to a game winner. Then you got UConn taking on Michigan State. I think Terrence Reed I think he's going to be electric in this game. I got UConn winning with a good season they've had. I think they continue that. I think UConn gets the win. I don't see Michigan State winning this one. This could be another game where it's like, will it be close? It could be a little close, but I don't think it's going to be. Won't be a crazy blowout. Well, I don't think it'll be a blowout in general, but UConn, I could see with them being led by Terrence Reed. Like, I don't know if anybody on Michigan State can stop them. That might run a 3-1-1 to contain them a bit. I can see that, like what the Raptors did in their championship. That could be smart, but I'm gonna still go UConn for the win, even if Terrence Reed is off. That's how I see it coming down. I appreciate you, bro. Then the last game for the men got Iowa State taking on Tennessee. This is another one I think. This another game I think could be a blowout, and I got to go with Iowa State. Iowa State has been really good this year. They've been having such a good season. I don't want to bet against them. I think, Tennessee, they've gotten this far, but like I said, it's just unrealistic for every game to be close. And I think this is another game that has the potential to be a blowout with Iowa State winning. I think this is the furthest Iowa State has been in an NCAA tournament. I could be wrong about that, but if I'm not, either way, I think Iowa State's dominant run will continue and they get to the Elite Eight. This has been a really good season, 29-7 in the Sweet 16. I don't think many people expect this out of Iowa State, so I'm going to go with them. I think they keep rolling. They head into the Elite Eight. So Iowa State, I got to roll with them. So those are my predictions for March Madness for the Sweet 16 games today and tomorrow. Like I said, I'll post my prediction for the women in the morning. because I know the women's Sweet 16 starts tomorrow and the men starts tonight. So I'll post that in the morning. So yeah, make sure y'all tune for that. Stay tuned for that to see my predictions, and we'll see how many I get right. But now we can move into the impact stat. And then Logan Thompson, he leads the NHL in save percentage. Now, before anybody checks, this is a minimum of 45 games played. So I do know that he was technically second behind the goalkeeper for the Colorado Avalanche, whose name I forgot for some reason. But he's only played 30 games, and I was looking like I think for this week, for this segment, I'm gonna make the minimum 45 games because it's an 82 game NHL season. So if you're playing 30 and the season's almost over, I gotta check something because the season is almost over and the lead-in 64. So yeah, like the Buffalo Sabres, I played 72 games. So I just made it more than half the season essentially. Because half 82 is 41, so I just made a minimum 45 games played up to this point. Because the only thing playing 30 is enough to lead the league in save percentage. And maybe, I'm not sure, but the NHL's save percentage leader, minimum 45 games played, it's Logan Thompson, who's having a really good season. At least individual season, he's been good, but the Washington Capitals haven't been amazing. Now Logan Thompson in the 50 games that he's played, 24 and 20 and 6, and so it's slightly under 500 with those 6 overtime losses. But Logan Thompson has been really good for the most part. Like I said, individually, obviously every win can't come down to him. 2 shutout wins this season, 15 shutout saves. So he has been really good. Like I said, individually he's been really good. Only giving up 2.37 goals per game. Totals of 1,369 save attempts, 117 goals against, and 1,252 saves, or having a 91.5 save percentage, which is the best in the league. Minimum 45 games played. So that is really good. Individual stats, he's been amazing, but unfortunately, it's more than just individual stats. Like I said, in 50 games played, he is just 24 and 20 and 6. So not amazing because those 6 that added 6 at the end is losses, but it's overtime losses. So not the best. But the Washington Capitals, they're 12th in the Eastern Conference and 6th in the Metropolitan Division. I think I say that wrong all the time. And then they're in danger of missing the playoffs. So as good as he's been individually, this team is still likely to miss the playoffs, which is unfortunate because the Washington Capitals have been a fun team to watch. I do think I still haven't picked an NHL team to root for yet. That could be a really fun video. Yeah, I might have to. Yeah, I'll make that a video picking my favorite NHL team because I still haven't picked, and I don't want to pick nobody that just won the championship. I think we'll pick somebody outside the playoffs. I know that's hella off topic, but getting back to what I was talking about, they've been good. No, the Capitals haven't been good, but the Eastern Conference has been crazy. And I want to take a look at the Eastern Conference because realistically, anybody in the Eastern Conference has a chance of making the playoffs. Obviously, only 8 teams get in, but the Capitals, they haven't been terrible, which is the ironic thing. Like, yes, they're 12th in the East, and you will want better, especially if you're trying to aim for that final spot in the playoffs. But Logan Thompson, he's been solid. I mean, he's been really good. Like, he's been one of the best goalkeepers in the league this year. Like, it's not really much more that he can do. And you take a look at I want to take a look at their other goal keepers. He's been their best goalkeeper, and I think he has. You got Charlie Lindgren, who's played 20 games. He's 9-7 and 3. So, but he's given up 3.29 goals a game, which isn't good, and only has an 88 .6 save percentage. So Logan has been clearly your best goalkeeper. He's had, like I said, he got the individual stats. He's been really great. Alex Ovechkin, he's been amazing this season. John Cross has been solid. Tom Wilson has spent too much time in that penalty box. But the Capitals, they're overall on the season, they're 35 and 28 and 9 in the Eastern Conference, and they have a plus 9 point differential and have lost back-to-back games. But when you take a look at the Eastern Conference, obviously it comes down to who has the most. Obviously, the wins matters, but it's going to come down to points too that determine seeding. So they just have 79 points on the season, and that's probably not going to cut it for them to make the playoffs. It's still 10 games left, so it's still about 3 weeks. So it's usually 3 to 4 games played in a week. So it's like 3 weeks left in the season. But nobody has actually. Yeah, what's crazy is nobody in the Eastern Conference has clinched the playoff spot yet. The Colorado Avalanche and Dallas Stars have both clinched playoff spots in the Western Conference, which is hella impressive because nobody else has hit that, while the Vancouver Canucks have been eliminated. So from 3 to 15. Yeah, 3 to 15, still anybody's game in the Western Conference. Meanwhile, in the East, nobody's clinched a playoff berth yet. The Rangers have been eliminated, though, with a 28. They're the only team below 30 wins. Wow. In the Eastern Conference, not the league. But the Rangers are the only team below 30 wins in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, like I said, most teams got around 10. Toronto Maple Leafs already at 73 games played. Okay. Has anybody else played? They're the only team at 73. Okay. They played 73 games this season. The Capitals at 72. They got 10 games left. So every game matters. The Ottawa Senators on a 4-game winning streak. I think that's the longest active winning streak to my knowledge. No, not true. Nashville Predators, they're on a 5-game winning streak, and they still have a minus 20 point differential. So the Nashville Predators had the longest active winning streak. So this final week for the NHL is going to be insane. The same for the NBA. So the final weeks for the NBA and NHL to determine playoff seeding, it's going to be insane because both conferences are really good this year. So, but back to the Capitals, it's going to be tough to make the playoffs because it's so much that you got to depend on. You got to win your games. You got other teams. Actually, you know what? Since I was talking about Logan Thompson, let's just focus on the Capitals and look at their schedule to end the season. No, because all of these games are important. Because most of these teams are in the hunt for the playoffs and have a pretty good chance of making it. And it's all just going to depend on where they're seated at. So they play Utah tonight. They play the Utah Moth tonight, who are also in position. You got Vegas, you got Philadelphia, got New Jersey, then Buffalo, then New York, then Toronto, then Pittsburgh, back to back, then Columbus, the last game of the season. Do they? Oh, they end on one. That's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 of their last 5 games are on the road. So there's going to be a lot of travel to end the season. 4 of those last 5 games on the road, 2 of which are against the Pittsburgh Penguins, who I forget where are they in the Then the Penguins, the Penguins also fighting for playoff position. They're like 6, I think. Yeah. Well, no, they're 7. But yeah, those Penguins games are going to be very important because they're also in the playoff picture. Now, things could shake and they could be eliminated depending on how things goes. But I think it's really hard for anybody to get eliminated at this point because it's a lot of math that goes into that, which I don't feel like doing all the math to determine how a team will get eliminated within the next week or so. But this final stretch is going to be a great final stretch. Every game, I think every game is important, but hopefully every game is good. That's what I want, even though that's probably not realistic either. But both of last night's games were decided by 1 point. So we'll see what happens. But the Capitals, Logan Thompson, he's leading the in save percentage, minimum 45 games played, but they could miss the playoffs, which would suck to be that good of a goalkeeper and still miss the playoffs. We'll see what happens. Good luck. All right, since I'm on spring break, one extra segment like I did on Tuesday, so extra segment for this week as well. One final change to the NFL overtime rules. So overtime, as we know it, is 10 minutes. One team gets a possession. The way overtime is won, both teams get a possession. Then whoever scores following that possession wins the game. So if the Bills and Ravens are in overtime, Josh Allen throws a dot to Keon Coleman. They go up 37-30. Lamar Jackson, he rushes for a 40-yard touchdown, 37-37. If the Bills score again, they still win the game. So it's basically the same as the old overtime rules where the first team that scores wins. Now it's just both teams get a possession. If they both score, let's just say they both kick field goals, then the team who scores next wins, whether that be a safety, pick six, whatever. Next team that scores wins. The problem with the overtime rule remains is that it feels similar to the last one. Because it's like if you get the field goal, then get the touchdown, and the team that got the touchdown, they win. That makes sense, right? But the problem with the old overtime rule is that both teams didn't get a chance to possess the ball. But now that both teams get a chance to possess the ball, that still leaves room for, whoever scores next, they just might then it's still a possibility that it's going to be a problem and people are complaining that, the other team still didn't get that other possession because a touchdown, if my Eagles and Giants playing overtime and we're down, and then it's 17-17 in overtime. And then let's just say that Jalen Hurts, he scores a touchdown. Not James Jones, Jackson Dart, he throw a touchdown. They throw touchdowns back to back. It's 24-24. If we score again, the game is over. So both teams had a possession, and it's just basically the same overtime rules. It's not the same, but it feels kind of similar because it's like, so the Eagles, they score and they win. It's like even though the Giants got one possession, it's like they don't have a chance to try to answer what just happened. So I think the overtime rule is, I say you let the players play the full 10 minutes, and I've always thought this, but this is what I would personally do for overtime. Keep ties. I know people want to get rid of it. Ties are super cool. It makes for fun tiebreaker scenarios, and it's always existed. And it's not nearly as many as it is in the past. Like in the 30s, 40s, early football, it was a lot more ties than we see today. So it's super rare that we see it, but when we do, it's like, yeah, that was cool. Like the Packers and Cowboys tying 40-40, that was like, damn, that's a high-scoring tie. That's the highest-scoring tie in NFL history. So it's like we don't see ties are super rare nowadays. Like they're not super common. Like usually it seems like the Steelers to do it pretty commonly, but they really don't do it that often. So it's like ties, they can be entertaining. They can be fun games. They could be boring games. That's all NFL games. But keep the ties. There's really no reason to get rid of them. Just keep a tradition. Like it's at the end of the day, it's still gonna play into tiebreaker scenarios. Like it still plays a significant factor. So why get rid of ties? That's not the issue with overtime. I say you let the guys play the full 10 minutes because because when you think about it in the MLB, and also these sports are different. In the MLB, they keep playing until it's a winner decided. That makes sense for a bit, but in preseason and spring training, they do ties because it's like they don't want nobody to get hurt. But in the regular season, they play till somebody is the winner. They don't do ties. In the NBA, they have overtime. They play the entire overtime. In the NHL, they don't play. In the NHL, it's much different because with the first to score, it's like both teams, they control that pace. They're controlling the pace of the game. It's like in the NFL, it's like if the offense scores, the offense can't stop the offense. Like in the NHL, you have to play offense and defense, and both goalkeepers got to be aware. In the NFL, it's not like that. And like in the NFL, it's not like the NBA, where you're Jaylen Brown, you can play offense and defense. But that's not just Jaylen Brown; it's the whole team. And whether you decide to give effort or not, that's a whole different conversation. But a Jaylen Brown, a Jason Tatum, a Derek White, they're all playing offense and defense because the entire team has to. But with the NFL, I say you let them go the full 10 minutes because overtime games, if nobody scores, they will go the full 10 minutes and it ends in a tie. But if you go the full 10 minutes without having, oh, as soon as somebody scores this at this specific time, it ends. That way, it feels, I think it makes more sense because why have the game clock if it does? Well, I guess the game clock is in case it goes to a tie because you don't want it to drag on. But it's like if neither team can score in that 10 minutes, why not play the full 10 minutes? Because that way, let's say a team gets, I'm going to just use the Patriots and Seahawks, for example, right? Let's just say the Super Bowl is, well, not to use the regular season, because obviously in playoffs, they're not going to do a tie or anything like that. The playoffs, they're going to play till the game is over. But let's say the Seahawks, they open the season on a Wednesday next season. Let's say the Seahawks and Patriots are playing, and it goes to overtime. If the Seahawks score a field goal, then the Patriots score a touchdown, they win the game, right? But why not? I'm suggesting you play the full 10 minutes to see what can happen because the game clock seems kind of pointless if you're just going to end as soon as the other team scores a touchdown. Maybe I'm the only person who thinks like that, but I feel like the game clock you use it just in case of a tie. But if you're going to use the game clock, why not use that entire 10 minutes to really decide who's the better team? Because you could make it similar to the NBA, where you don't do multiple overtimes. You can't do that in football, but you do one overtime. But in the NBA, how they play that full 5 minute period, let them play that full 10-minute period, and then that's how you decide who wins. And if it still ends in a tie, it ends in a tie. Because ties aren't that common. Like ties, like when the Raiders and Chargers were both in position to make the playoffs, I think was it them or was it yeah, it was them. Was it the Raiders? I think that missed it because they called a timeout or something silly. Did somebody call a timeout? It was something really silly. But if the other team would have they could have took a tie and both teams would have made the playoffs. But because somebody called the timeout, the other team kicked a field goal. One of them went to the playoffs while the other one missed. I forgot how it worked. I don't know if it was the Raiders who made the playoffs or Chargers that year. But if they end that game in a tie, they both made the playoffs. If the Giants and Commanders, they potentially had they both had ties that season. It came down to that DPI call. If that don't happen, they both made the playoffs. That's different. But if that Raiders Chargers game ends on a tie, they both made the playoffs. So ties don't happen that often now. Like compared to the 2020s, to the 40s and 50s, ties were a lot more common back then. That's not as likely to happen now. Like ties still happen, but teams aren't finishing the season with 3-4 ties in a single season. That's just not realistic. So don't get rid of it. But I suggest you play the full 10 minutes to determine who's really the better team. Because if both teams score touchdowns in that overtime, because both teams get a possession now, what happens when the Buccaneers, when they have a kick return touchdown, the game just ends. But both teams had a possession, so it's fine now. It's like it still feels very similar to the old overtime rules where if you score first, you win. But now it's after you both get a possession, whoever scores first wins the game. Like that still feels really similar in my opinion. That's why I say you play the full 10 minutes. Because then if Josh Allen loses in overtime, he can't complain. You add the entire clock. You didn't manage the clock properly. Maybe your defense gave up 2 touchdowns that the offense couldn't come back from. But I still feel the overtime rules can be changed a little bit. And I think the perfect way to do that is by just letting them play the full 10 minutes. That way you can't complain about possessions. If you give up an 8-minute drive, then that's your fault for not playing defense. That's your fault for not coaching better. So you give up an 8-minute drive in overtime, that's just you. And you have to respond to it. If it ends on a tie, it ends on a tie. But somebody is still more than likely to win and lose because, like I said, teams aren't finishing with the most ties a team is probably going to finish with in this era is probably around 2. Now, you're not teams in the 30s and 40s and 50s, they had like 3-4 ties in a single season. Somebody probably had 5 ties once. I can't confirm that. I don't know if I can look that up. I'm gonna look that up too. Yeah, no team has. Yeah, Yeah, it's super rare that teams finish in ties. I think like it's really unlikely to happen in this era. Like, okay, looking at the last 20 teams that had ties in the season, all of them finished with one tie, and this is dating back all the way to 2012. Just one, like teams aren't finishing with multiple ties now. Like that's just not. Teams are only finishing with one tie now. You're not going to see a team with two or three ties, maybe two at most, maybe two. My teams have gotten close to that, but but aside from that, you're not going to see three or four ties in a single season. Like that's just not going to happen. And I'm going to look it up to verify, but I think the most in a season is four. It's not getting me to what I'm looking for, but saying 1974 it was 17 total ties in 1920, and that's total. It's not showing me what I'm looking for. But like I said, you can change. I think you change the overtime rules a little bit, and everything will be fine. So I say let them play the full 10 minutes, but I think that's the best way to determine who truly wins that game in overtime. I think that makes the most sense, letting them play that full 10. And now for athletes of the week, from March 19th to March 25th. Let's get into it. For women's college basketball, I went with Madison Booker from Texas. They went 2-0 this week in the tournament. In the first game, she had a double-double with 14 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block, while shooting 4 of 8 from the field, so 50%, 1 of 1 from the three-point line, and 5 of 6 from the free throw line, which is 83%, in a win versus Missouri State, where she didn't have to play much. And then versus Oregon, she was phenomenal with 40 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals on 14 of 21 from the field, 2 or 3 from 3, and 10 of 11 from the free throw line. A beautiful game, best individual performance that I've seen in this March Madness. So yeah. For men's college basketball, I went with Modest Vokatas. I might butcher his name, but he plays for number 11 Texas. Oh, so Texas with back-to-back awards this week. I ain't even realized that. But he had 23 points, 1 block, 1 assist, and 16 rebounds, a double-double on 10 of 17 from the field. And I did struggle from the line, but he was a big factor in that win versus BYU as they upset BYU. As it was the AJ DeBonster show, as he didn't get any help. But yeah, and then in a win where they also upset number 3 Gonzaga, he had 17 points, 2 assists, 9 rebounds while shooting 7 of 11 from the field and 3 of 5 from the free throw line. So better percentage from the free throw line that game. Much better. For the NBA, this was a pretty easy choice. I went with a current 3-time MVP, Nikola Jokic. The Nuggets went 4-0 this week. He averaged 22.5 points, 1 steal, 15.5 assists, 15 rebounds, 53% from the field, 3-point percentage I won't mention, and 77.8% from the free throw line. And he had 3 straight games of at least 20 plus points, 14 plus rebounds, and 14 plus assists. So phenomenal week for Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, who are currently sitting at 4th in the Western Conference. For WWE, I went with Bayley and Lara Valkyria. They won a tag team match on Monday Night Raw versus Kabuki Warriors to earn a tag team title shot next week versus Nia Jackson, Lash Legend. For TNA, I went with a tie. I went with Mike Santana and Steve Macklin. Their segment last week on Impact was amazing. I think that was the best segment of this year, and it was just a really good way to close out Impact, so I had to go with them for that. For AEW, I went with Kenny Omega. Him and Swerve had a really good match on Dynamite last night, and it was EVP title versus number 1 contender shot, and Kenny Omega won, keeping his EVP title and stealing Swerve Strickland's number 1 contender shot for the AEW World Championship. And then he cut a great promo with MJF, leading to them having their match at Dynasty, which is going to be coming up very soon. For the MLB, I went with Carly Snyder for the Grand Rapids Rise. Went 1-1 this week. She had a total of 31 points, 26 kills, 74 total attacks, and 15 digs. So she had a really good week. For the NHL, I went with uh, Sergio Bobrovsky from the Florida Panthers, who had a 2-1 week, but in the two games that he played, they won both of those. They went 2-0. He had 21 save attempts, 21 saves, 100 save percentage versus the Oilers. Then he had a 27 saves, 27 save attempts, 23 saves, 4 goals against, and 85.2 save percentage versus the Seattle Kraken. And the Panthers won both these games that he played in. So, yeah. For Live Golf, I went with Bryson DeChambeau, who won Live Golf South Africa in playoff holes and won back-to-back tournaments, won in Singapore and now South Africa. So that was great. And then I'm going to end with, as for the PBA, went with EJ Tackett. He was in 3 matchups in the PBA Indiana Classic, and he did go 2-1 as he competed in matches 1 through 3. All were really competitive and came down to the wire, and he clutched up. Aside from that last one, like the first 2, he got the dub and advanced to the semifinal match where he ultimately ended up losing. But he had a great showing, and he looked the best and most consistent out of everybody at the PBA Indiana Classic through the 3 games that he played. So I went with EJ Tackett. Like I said, I'm going to switch it up sometimes. Most of the time, I'm going to go with the winner. But if one of the losers had a very significant day, then I'm going to go with them. And despite EJ Tackett losing and not getting to the championship match, he had a very significant day. So I had to go with EJ Tackett. And then to end it with the MLB. So not B. I know that's a bit confusing. Got to change that up now. But I went with Adriano Carlos Stanton for the Yankees. 4 at-bats, 1 run, 2 hits, 1 RBI. And the Yankees defeat the Giants. Not just defeat, they dominate the Giants. 7-0 on the Netflix, on the MLB on Netflix debut. So yeah, congratulations to the Yankees starting the season 1-0. But that wraps it up for this episode of the podcast. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, and share for others to see.